So I'll just kind of start over again here. Basically, we call ourselves the Dade Wadun Hadenyes, and that means we're changing our lives. So like I said, we take youth, male and female, from ages 12 to 17, and basically, if you look at rites of passage from a traditional perspective, it would be when women get their period or their moon time, and when young men, when their voice starts to change. So that means they're basically going into adulthood. And our people never had the age 18 as you're now an adult. It was your rites of passage, and if you succeeded through rites of passage and made it through that journey, then it's basically you're considered a man and a woman in the village now, and you're to start contributing to that village. You're no longer going to be taken care of all the time now. So now you have to start learning some skills and contributing back to your clan family. So when we one of the first things we did when we started here, this is sort of our schedule. I just kind of wanted this as an outline, but we started off with our orientation. We started in January, so we go from January all the way till next week, which is June 23rd, is our last day that we're doing rites of passage, and then we'll just basically do it every year after that. And we're continually improving, taking lessons out, putting lessons in, so every year might be a little different, and based off their age and things like that. So we kind of want to do it, kind of teach them the basics the first year or two, like the Thanksgiving address and the creation story, different things like that, and then take them further. Hopefully by the time they graduate, we can expose them to different things like the Galileo and the Great Law. There's different different people in our history that we have in our stories, messengers that were sent down to our people, and they delivered these messages of how to treat ourselves, treat other people, and treat this earth. Because, you know, as they say, us humans are the most pitiful ones, because we have to constantly be reminded of how we're supposed to be. You know, if you take a look at all of creation, they don't have to be reminded, because they're still carrying out their responsibilities that the Creator gave them when He created them. From the animals to the birds to the trees, all those things, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and the Creator don't have to send messengers down to them and remind them. You know, they're still carrying out their responsibility. So, orientation, midwinter ceremony. So we also encourage our participants to participate in the ceremonies at the Longhouse. It's not required or anything, but it's just highly encouraged. We're also teach them, we really break down the ceremonies for them too. So for midwinter ceremony, we'll actually get either one of us or a faith keeper or somebody else within maybe even cultural heritage to talk about midwinter, because it's 4 days long, and each day there's something different going on. So we go through that in English and let them understand what's being said in all of those speeches that our faith keepers are saying, so that they understand and they can connect more with what's going on. So there's the language, the speeches, and the songs that they have to sort of understand. This past year, we've basically been meeting at the Noble Hill Cafeteria every Sunday, unless it's like some sort of holiday, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So the first 2 hours from 10 a.m. to noon is usually a lesson. So a PowerPoint, a teaching, some sort of cultural stories, or language. And then for the second 2 hours from noon to 2, we go into some sort of craft activity. So we teach them sewing, there's rattle making, and there's a lot of other things that we want to get into our curriculum, but we're not quite there yet. So we want to get into well, what I would like to do, I don't know if it'll happen, is I'd like to get hunter safety into our curriculum, and then bring them out on a hunt and teach them how to hunt, teach them how to field dress a deer or an animal, whatever we're hunting for, if it's a turkey, and how to use the entire animal. So from an indigenous worldview, from our own worldview here, is, you know, when the Creator created the deer and the other animals, and He gave them the purpose on why they're here, that was one of their purposes, was to really sacrifice themselves for us, for humanity. So basically, all of us, all of humanity, were the Creator's spoiled little children. You know, because what He was doing is really recreating what he could see where his grandmother came from. His grandmother came from the sky world. So he wanted to recreate what he could see up there down here on this earth. And us humans were the last ones that were created. He created everything else here, and then us. So everything that we need is here in the natural world. We can go into the woods. There's medicines. There's trees. There's all kinds of things that have different purposes. And they're all designed specifically for different reasons for us. So when you look at the indigenous worldview, that's what we do. A lot of times when we go hunting, we go to the woods to gather something, is we'll put our tobacco down, because that was sort of the agreement that the Creator and the plant life and the animal life had, is that they just want to really be acknowledged, and they want that tobacco offering, so that we're not just going in somewhere and taking whatever we want, we're giving back. That's called that reciprocity. So we do that tobacco, either tobacco burning or put our tobacco down. So it's teaching our youth those things as well. So the other perspective of going into the woods is we're going into somebody else's home. So all these trees, a lot of times all the different plants, they live in families. So a lot of times you'll see one maybe group of maple trees or something, and one really stands out that's big, healthy, and strong. That would be the leader of that family. So that's the one that you put your tobacco down to, and talk to that spirit of the tree, and let all of creation know out there what you're doing, what your purpose is, and what you intend on harvesting, so that they also feel acknowledged, and then they also don't hurt us as well. So we want to be respectful of things like that. That's sort of the things that we've been just intertwined right with all of our lessons. So we go over the midwinter ceremony, we break that down. Then the next week we went into the creation story. So that time we had Forrest Brooks come in from UWGB. He's a professor out there for First Nation Studies. He's one of my mentors in my life, and so he came in, and everybody who tells a creation story just does it a little bit different. So it's always good to hear it from multiple people, and it's good to hear it over and over, because you'll get something a little more out of it. It'll make a little more sense. So we had him do the creation story, and I like the way he does it, because he'll pause and talk about parts in the creation story and relate them to today's world, and how they're relatable and how they apply to today. So he did that for the first part, and then we went into our sewing lesson. So with that, we feel that sewing is pretty important, because with sewing skills comes being able to make your own traditional clothing and regalia and stuff. So that's another thing that we really encourage. So we start teaching sewing, and we just started off with them making like pajama pants and shirts and things, just so that they get skills. Because now towards the end, now that we're at the end, we have them make their traditional regalia. So their traditional regalia, they have to make their leggings for the men, skirt for their women, and then dress for the women, and then their tops, their ribbon shirts and stuff on top. So for they're all different colors too. So let's see here. The first year or the third year are in blue. Second year people are in yellow. First year people are in red. So they kind of color coordinate them, so you know who's in their first year of fasting, because this is a 4-year program. So the first year they join the program, we have all these lessons that we do, but in the end, they have to go into their vision quest. So we teach them how to build their lodge. We go and collect maple saplings, and then we'll teach them how to build their lodge. We've got some tarps, that's what these are for. And then the vision quest is for them to really take that time alone and get to know themselves, really, to be comfortable with themselves, to be comfortable being alone. And then also, their purpose there in their vision quest is to really be thinking about, why are they here on this earth? Because from our indigenous world perspective here is, it takes 3 to make life happen here: mom, dad, and then the Creator Spirit. So the Creator sends all of our spirits down to this earth, and when He sends them down here into a mother's womb, there's a gift that child has, and a purpose that child has. And so that's part of the other part of their vision quest is for them to think about why they're here on earth, what their purpose is. So that'll really help give them some direction in their life. And they also call it a vision quest because some people actually may get a vision. Something when they're sleeping, something might come to them in a dream, or even when they're awake during the day, they might get like a daydream. Something might come to them, maybe it could be a spirit of an animal, it could be a spirit of an ancestor. And then there could be a message with that as well. So that's why it's called a vision quest, to go see, going out on a quest to get a vision there. And maybe sometimes they don't get any vision out of it, but everybody's different. And the other part to the vision quest is that they don't get any food, and water is optional. So some choose not to have any water at all for the whole day they're out there for their first year. And then if you're in for 2 years, then you're out in the woods for 2 days, secluded out in the woods, getting them connected with all their original family. Because that's the way we look at the woods and creation, is this is our original family. Because they were all here created before us, and the Creator put a little bit of His Spirit into everything in creation to make it become alive. And that's the same thing He did to us humans when He created us, and breathed life into us and make us become alive. So this is our original family, and we really want to get our youth connected to all of creation, because that's really going to help them, and science is proving that kind of stuff nowadays with like nature walks as therapy and all that kind of stuff. And gardening is like therapy too. So there's a lot of things that science is proving today that our ancestors have known for a very long time. And it's about getting our people connected back to their original ways of being out in the woods, gardening, hunting, because there's a lot of healthy benefits that come to it, not only emotionally and spiritually, but then physically you get healthy too, because if you're eating venison and stuff out of your garden, it's a lot healthier than McDonald's, right? In the fast-paced life that we live in. So there's a lot of benefits to that. Let's see here.
I have a question about
Yeah.
So as it builds, because there's first year, second year, third
Yep.
year, and then the final year.
Fourth year, yep.
And you want to change it up every year. So those students in each year, do they sit through the same set of lessons, or is each year separated and has different sets of lessons?
That's the plan, is separate lessons. Yeah, it's to break them up into different lessons. So we got to still get all that coordinated yet and figured out, because that's like a whole curriculum there, and then all the teachings that go with it. It's a lot of work,
Yes,
as we're
it
finding out.
is.
So like I said, this is my actually first year doing the Rites of Passage here. This is the third year the program has been here for Oneida. So if you look at
Who develops the curriculum?
me, Iris, Guaglet, and Yuntley. So Guaglet and Yuntley went out east to New York, to Mohawk territory, and learned about what they were doing out there, because they were doing Rites of Passage on a very big scale. I think they have about 80 nieces and nephews that go through their Rites of Passage. I think we had about 36 this year. This is the third year, so it's growing a lot every year. That's the plan, is to get a different curriculum for each year.
So you have content. You don't have problems getting content. Is it an issue or difficult to organize that content curriculum-wise to make it so, like, say
So it flows?
this group of kids come through, now you can start over, now you have another group coming through, because then you can add more and then they're separated out. I'm
Yeah.
just thinking curriculum development, not the content of it.
Yeah. So we're still developing that, trying to make it better and better, so we're going to have you help us.
Yeah, I can make a curriculum. I went to school for that.
Yeah. So that's the plan, is to keep on, because when I look at our teachings here, we have our stories, we have our ceremonies, we have our songs, and we have our land-based healing activities, and then we have our craft activities. So that's 5 things. That's a lot, and it's actually hard to. We actually have too much stuff, really. But there's so much to teach that our youth are not being exposed to. So to me, that's another reason that I'm pretty passionate about Rites of Passage, because of all the things that I learned in my life and all the things nobody else is learning because they're not getting exposed to it. So to me, it's like I'd like to make rites of passage year-round and go off Mother Nature's calendar. Go off to different moons, to different seasons that we have, and do what our ancestors would have been doing at that time. And then get them out there and teach them how to do those things. So there's a lot to it. So where are we at now? We got, wrong one. This one. So we did the sewing, and then we did intro to clan system, and then a mock clan meeting. And that was run by Randy Cornelius and Dr. Carroll. Randy talked about our clan system. Just a little quick understanding of our clan system. So whatever clan your mother is, that's what clan you are. So the reason why we go by that is because that goes all the way back to our creation story. That goes back to the sky woman that was pregnant. She came down from the sky world down here to earth. She was pregnant with a daughter, gave birth. Daughter got pregnant by the west wind. She had twins, which then was the creator, the left-handed twin and the right-handed twin. So a good twin and a bad twin. Our clan system, that's why we go off our mother's side. Most tribes go off whatever clan your father is. But our Haudenosaunee people, the Longhouse, so if you look at our confederacy, all the 6 nations, we all follow what clan your mother is. Because if you take a look at that, the mothers are really vested in their community. You know, wherever they are, that family is going to be there. So we really follow the mother side, and there's a lot to that as well. Anyways, long story short, wherever clan your mother is, that's what clan you're born into. So my mom was Bear Clan, so I'm Bear Clan. And when you go back, if we were to rewind 500 years, when we all lived in longhouses yet, it would be our Bear Clan longhouse, Turtle Clan longhouse, Wolf Clan longhouse. Except there was nine clans altogether. So 3 bear, different species, different colored bears, different colored wolves, and different species turtles. So there were 9 clans altogether. Today we don't really know specifically what clan we are, if I'm black bear or little bear or whatever. We don't know those details. Some families might know that, but that's pretty rare. So everybody in that longhouse would be my immediate brothers and sisters. Everybody. And everyone that's of grandparent age are my grandparents. And everyone that's around the parent age, those are all my parents. There was no concept of aunt and uncle. Everybody disciplined everyone's kids. Everybody took care of each other's kids. And when you take a look at that concept, people say today, it takes a community to raise a child, or it takes a village to raise a child. That's what our people did. So that really strengthens our community. And when I talk about our clan system, that's what we're trying to revitalize, to make that a reality. You got a question?
I was just wondering how you handle, have you had any students or parents that came in and didn't know which clan you were?
Yep. There's a process for that. Yeah, so, intermarriages happen all the time. It's very normal. So let's say mother's white or Hispanic or something, and dad's Oneida, they have a kid, child doesn't have a clan then. There's an adoption ceremony. So with the adoption ceremony, the Wolf clan are the temporary holders of those people who want to be adopted into a clan. So they kind of house them in their longhouse, and then really it comes down to who do those people connect with out of a clan. So there would have to be a bear or turtle clan that would want to adopt that person into their clan, and then there's a ceremony involved with doing that. And then after that, it's official. They would announce that whatever clan they are now, they're announcing it to all the people in the village, then also everything in creation, and then to the Creator, so that everybody knows who you are and who your family is and what your name is. Because along with that, you have to have your Oneida name as well. So you're basically fully immersed into Oneida then. And they would say, like, you're kind of shedding your old beliefs and old ways, and you're becoming Oneida now. And this is the way we follow, and stuff like that. So, long ceremony well. So there's a way. So if you know people that are, looking that want a clan, or they want their Oneida name, and we can get that all set up. So probably look at Reggie to see, he's got to look at their family history, see if they have a clan in their family. Probably work with faith keepers with the Longhouse, and get the ceremony going in the right direction there. So here at Cultural Heritage, this is probably where you'd want to go if you want your Oneida name, or you want to be adopted into a clan, because we have the people with the knowledge and resources here to be able to help guide somebody through that process. Good question. All right, so then we did also a mock clan meeting. So when you look at our clan system, every clan has a chief. So the ones who choose who the chief's going to be is the clan mothers. So that's actually pretty significant, because the clan mothers, they're already looking at who's a potential chief from the time of birth, all the way, seeing how they treat people, seeing what kind of personality they have, seeing if they're helping people all the time, seeing if they're continuing to learn the language and the songs and all these things that they're continually watching. And when someone passes away, that chief name then has to be filled. So there's not a new name that somebody gets. There's actually, I believe, 50 chiefs in the Confederacy when you look at all 6 nations. And those chief names have been there for thousands of years, since the peacemaker came and put that clan system, revitalized it, brought it back into place. So when a chief passes away, the clan mothers select a new chief to take that title and that name to fill those shoes. So to me, that's very significant and very powerful that our women are the ones that choose that. And the women are the one that can also strip the chiefs from their title. They would call it dehorn them, because they get deer antlers on their bestowies, the feathered hats that they get. So if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and maybe they're acting up or something, the clan mothers can then strip them of that duty and put somebody else in their place. And there's a lot of ceremonies and different things, that protocol, I guess, that goes in place with that. So a mock clan meeting, I'm trying to finish that. So the mock clan meeting, so we do that. So what we're doing with our youth is we split them up into their clans, and then we give them discussion topics. So one of the things that we did is our Thanksgiving address. We talked about the Thanksgiving address, everything that we give thanks for, and then we talked about why you should be thankful for those things. So everybody came up with their brainstorming list, like trees, they give up oxygen, they give shade, all these different things that they could name, and then they would select their chief on who they want to speak on behalf of their clan. And so that spokesman has to be good at remembering what to talk about, because they're speaking on behalf of everyone, and then they'll usually have their helpers on their side too to help remind them if they forgot about something. So we do that. We start off with if we look at the mock clan discussions, the Wolf clan are basically the agenda holders. They set the agenda on what's going to be talked about and what's going to occur during this meeting, and then they send it over to if something needs to be resolved or a solution, then they send it to the Turtle clan, who are knowledge keepers. They do our research and figure things out, and then they come up with solutions, and then they present to Bear clan, and they tell Bear clan, here's what we think, here's what the solution is, and then Bear clan takes it and sees if there's anything they may have forgotten, throw it in, and then they'll send it back to Turtle clan and say, okay, we agree, or here's something you should add in that we thought of. And then once Turtle and Bear come to an agreement, then they send it back to Wolf, and then Wolf dissects everything and see if there's anything that's been forgotten. And if everything seems good and everybody's in agreement, then the Wolf says, okay, let's implement it. And if not, the Wolf can say, you guys, what about this? Bring up something else that nobody thought of, then they got to send it back to Turtle, and then back to Bear, and then back. So we do those mock clan meetings right in our Rites of Passage. So our clan system is our government structure. It's also our goes hand in hand with our spiritual structure as well. It's our sense of family. That's how our clan system is. So there's a lot that our clan system means. It's not just I'm Bear Clan and that's it. There's a lot more to that. So that's what we're doing, is educating our youth about that and strengthening their identity, their sense of belonging. So then we went into tobacco burning etiquette and the 4 R's: respect, responsibility, reciprocity, and relationships. So with our tobacco burning, we just sort of explained to them what words are being said. And when I talked about going into somebody else's home earlier, that's what I talk about when I'm explaining the tobacco burning etiquette. So they understand that when they're going into the woods, to be respectful, and we're going into somebody else's home. So we're teaching those things right away so that they understand them, and then we implement them into the different things that we've done this year as well, like the maple camp and stuff like that. So so the tobacco burning, in the Thanksgiving address is really, when we go over to creation story, the creation story starts in the sky world and it goes all the way down to earth, to creation and everything that was created here. The Thanksgiving address starts with the earth and then works its way back up into the sky world. So that's like our cycle. We talk about the creation story, then we talk about the Thanksgiving address on how that's a cycle. So the Thanksgiving address really helps them get connected to creation, to their non-human relatives, and to be thankful and mindful of them. The Thanksgiving address is very important. So we're teaching them that as well. And then one of the activities we did, one of the land-based healing activities, is we brought them out ice fishing. So a lot of kids maybe never been fishing even, or never even been ice fishing. So those are skills and things that our people have always done for thousands of years. And so we're teaching them not only how to drill the holes and put their bait on and all those things, but before we even start, we actually started with a Thanksgiving address when we did our ice fishing. We did a Thanksgiving address, we burned tobacco, we gave our thanks, acknowledgement to all of creation and to the fish, and then we started fishing. I think we had, over 30 people out there, and we harvested some fish, and then we also taught them how to fillet the fish up, and then we also put it in batter and fried it right out there on the lake when we're ice fishing. So we're teaching them the skills of how to fish, how to harvest it, how to fillet it up and then cook it, and also with the tobacco burning and all that stuff. So that's a land-based healing activity, getting them reconnected with their non-human relatives there. So that'll really help them in their journey in life, and it also really helps create memories for them. So part of the reason for these land-based healing activities is when we're doing the Thanksgiving address, they can then think about that time we went ice fishing and have that feeling of how good they felt to go with that. So when we're doing our Thanksgiving address, that's what we're supposed to be doing. And that's why we're always doing the Thanksgiving address before we do anything. It's because it's trying to get our heads in a good mind to be thankful for everything that we have. And so that's why we do that. So for example, too, like today I brought a lot of the nephews out there were stripping the bark off the maple saplings to make their lodges, and then a couple of them were across the river, and a couple of them decided to take a swim. So they jumped in the river, and they were laughing, having a great time, and that is like another thing. So when we talk about our Thanksgiving address and we get to the part where we're saying De Tino Ela Du Oneida Sogu, we're talking about, this is one of the things that we use is for our Thanksgiving address to really teach them. So when we're going through this and we get to the waters, they then have a really good memory about that water and a really good time. And that's what they're supposed to think about when they're doing their Thanksgiving address. And so that's how you get them connected. So constantly trying to get them connected here to all of creation. So then we went into healthy lifestyle choices. So this is more of a contemporary teaching. So not only are we doing a lot of the culture and the language and stories and songs, but we're also looking at what we can teach them to help prepare them for adulthood in today's world as well. So Margaret Van Hoovel came in and she did her presentation. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with her on health and sex education. So that was really good. That was another lesson. And then another thing that we did is fire starting. So we teach them how to start a fire. Surprisingly, like I think everybody knows how to start a fire, but a lot of people don't. You know, and then also the responsibility of having a fire. So we teach those things, the safety of a fire, and how to keep everything safe. And then also what the fire is representative to us in our culture. And when we look at our fire, that's our spirit. And so we give those lessons and teachings when we're building those fires with them. We talk about, you know, all these different logs that go into a fire are all representative of different things that are trying to help build our fire up, make us feel healthy and strong. Because we don't want our fire burning too low, which is kind of representative of like depression, you know, different things, not feeling good. And if our fire is burning too hot, you know, people can get hurt. And that's kind of representative of our anger and things like that. So we want to have a healthy fire that's burning just right, not too low, not too high. So we give a lot of teaching behind that fire and the significance of it. And then we also teach them the different ways you can build a fire through either flint or match and lighter. And even we joined up with Kip and Mark from Adventures. They came over and taught them how to make a fire with a bow and all that stuff. So there were some really good lessons there. So then the other thing we did here is we went into maple camp. So Randy Cornelius did a tobacco burning once again over at our maple camp on Adam Drive. And so started it off right. We had Indigenous Diet and Healing there, Randy's Jeetney Wolihoda group, and then our Rites of Passage group. There was, I think, around 55 people we had for the tobacco burning. So Randy did the tobacco burning. I did a fire starting demonstration again for the nieces and nephews to teach them how to do that. And then after Randy was done, he did his explanation in English about what he talked about so that everybody really understands. And then from there, we went into tapping trees. So we went out there and taught them how to identify a maple tree and then sent them out to go find one. So then when they thought they found one, then I'd go there and verify it for them or Randy. And we split into clans when we did that too.
Is this just for the Rites of Passage program, or is this for everybody? So you're sending out 12 from 17-year-olds, or you're sending out like 6-year-olds go find a tree?
There was young ones there, real young,
Yeah.
like parents that had their nieces and nephews there would bring their young ones too. They'd just run around and have fun. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, see, and that's the thing is that's another memory, another good memory for the children from a young age, is for them to go out there and experience those things and really get connected. So when they're doing a Thanksgiving address and they're talking about thankfulness for the trees, they then have those memories with them and they can really connect.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So when everybody's meeting on Sundays, do the parents or the
Oh,
adults
yeah.
there, but are they staying there with them?
Yep.
So
Yep.
they're learning right along?
Yeah, that's another, I'm glad you brought that up. That's another good thing about our Rites of Passage program is not only is it focused on the nieces and nephews and helping them become young adults, but it's also, if you're there as a parent or as an aunt or an uncle, you basically just fill out your Rites of Passage application. They do a real quick, simple background check. and then you're in. And the thing about it too is you don't have to be Oneida, you don't have to have a clan, but if you show up and you're open-minded and you're willing to learn, we need people in the community that want to participate and want to learn, so that they can also have discussions with their children or their nieces and nephews outside of Rites of Passage as well, because they're learning together then. So as we know, a lot of our people, a lot of our people don't know all of our culture and things like that. So the more people we can get participating, the better. So not only are we focused on youth, but we're indirectly helping adults as well. So that's another, that was a really good, I'm glad you brought that up. So yeah, we went on tap trees. I think we tapped 120 trees this year, and we got, I think it was around 23 gallons of maple syrup. And so we split that up between all 3 programs. Everybody got a piece of the pie there. So it was good, teaching them how to boil down, teaching them how to, do fire starting again, boil that sap down and condense it into maple syrup, and when to pull the pan, and how to check the syrup and when it's the right thickness, viscosity, and we got a sugar gauge too that they can use. So there's different things that we're teaching and exposing them to. So we went into Maple Camp. That's another land-based healing activity, really getting them good memories and getting them connected with creation. And then we also brought in Sue Ryder. She was an indigenous healing practitioner up there, and we went through meditation with them. So that's something that we feel was important for them to learn, is meditation, so that they can take that time to themselves anytime and learn how to meditate and reground themselves, because that meditation is also going to be important for them when they're on their vision quest too, when they're out in the woods in seclusion, so that they can really go into some deep thinking. And that's another thing that we're trying to develop here with our youth, is teach them how to be deep thinkers, teach them how to solve things themselves. Next we basically went into maple ceremony, because at that time Maple Camp was pretty much done, and then the Longhouse does maple ceremony. So we encouraged our youth to participate in maple ceremony and to bring a little bit to contribute, because they pass out that maple syrup as medicine. Everybody gets some of that. And then we also broke down maple ceremony as well, like we did with Midwinter. So we went through the whole day of what the speeches are said, what songs are sung, and why they're sung, and answered everyone's questions. Turned out to be really good, because a lot of parents had a lot of questions about etiquette too as well, and protocol, where we should sit. There's different things that people had a lot of questions. So it's good. We got a lot of good feedback from the parents, saying how grateful that we were there to answer a lot of their questions, to be able, so they feel more comfortable being at the Longhouse and knowing what their responsibilities are as well. Then we went into, after maple ceremony, we went into seed ceremony. So once again, we did the same thing with that, and we actually started making cow horn rattles too. So that's one of the crafts that we did. So a lot of them actually got theirs done that Sunday, and the rest of them had, a couple of them, hey, there they are right there. Them two are finishing up their rattles today. So we work as a team. There's Yumli coming into the building now. So it's nice that we got Yumli, because she's got a lot of knowledge too and a lot of experience. So she was able to basically take over on helping our nephews finish their rattles up, so that I could come do this presentation. So we're able to take team off and help each other out. And then let's see here. So after rattle making, we did a survival training, overnight survival camp with Mark and Kip from Adventures. So that's when we were teaching them the different ways of making fires again. And then we also had a lot of activities for them to do, so they had the option to really push themselves as far as they want to. We taught them weeks before how to build different shelters. They could have a tarp, lean-to, they could have a tent, or they could go build a fort, whatever they wanted to do, but they had to build their shelter at the overnight survival camp. And then they also had to we went and helped them identify edible plants in the woods so that they could eat. And then we also supplied just a little bit of fishing line, and we teach them knife safety too. So we had that in there, so they had to make their fishing pole out of a large stick and fishing line and dig up their worms and grubs and all that stuff. So we did all that, so that was good. Yeah, we ended up getting rained over, so we went from early in the morning all the way till late at night, and we ended up having to pack up and leave because there was actually a really bad storm that was supposed to hit with lightning and stuff, so we had to roll out. But surprisingly, a lot of the nephews and nieces wanted to stay because they were looking forward to really put themselves, test themselves, see how everything we would teach them this whole, season, seeing if they can succeed with those things. So that was good, being able to get that plant identification in there and everything. So the other thing we work on as well is we do our intros in Oneida. A lot of times when we introduce ourselves, we tell ourselves what our Oneida name is, what clan we are, and where we're from. So we refer to ourselves as the people down by the Duck Creek, or people of the Standing Stone. So they do all that in their introduction, and they'll also include their grandmother and their mother, so that people know what family they come from. So we teach them those introductions in the language, and that's the goal, is for them to be able to get up and speak in their language, who they are, where they come from, and also for them to be able to say the Thanksgiving address in the language as well. So that's what we're doing with this part here, is really teach them Thanksgiving address with these books and stuff. So then another thing that we did there was we participated in Earth Day. Because we harvest the maple saplings when we make our lodges, like we just did, in order to do that reciprocity and give back. We have our nieces and nephews go to Earth Day and help collect garbage, and then they get trees out of it, and they get maple trees, so then they go plant trees. So that's part of that reciprocity, teaching them those lessons. And then let's see. I already said we went over seed ceremony. Same thing as we have with the other ceremonies. Broke it down in English for them, and teach them songs too. And then we got into sewing their ceremonial clothing, so that they have their different colors, like I talked about, when they get out of their vision quest. We'll give them a nice hose down with some water maybe, and they gotta get into their regalia. Try to get spiffed up as best they can. So the rest of the season's basically been doing recruiting too. So we did an orientation for each. So for each niece or nephew that we have the mother and father role, and then the aunt and uncle role. So there should be 4 adults per child. And we say role because in today's world, so a lot of times don't have their biological parents, or maybe they're adopted, or different things. So when we look at mother or father role and aunt and uncle role, there's always usually somebody in each child's life that plays that role for that child. Was that mother figure, grandmother figure? Yeah. Oh.
Fill out that one.
Oh. All right. That one here.
Sorry, ladies, we've interrupted.
Yeah, so that's kind of the setup that we that's our goal, is to get that for each child. So we recruit community members to sign up as mentors, and then they can participate in one of the clans. And when it comes to ceremonial week, some of their responsibilities as an aunt and uncle would be to provide a meal for their last meal before they go into their vision quest. And then when they come out of their vision quest, there's a community meal, a community feast, where everybody, all the nieces and nephews, are coming out of the woods. Because, like I said, we're only in the 3rd year of this program, so we have 1 nephew and 1 niece that are 3rd year, so they're going to be out in the woods on a vision quest with no food and water optional for 3 days in their lodge. And that really strengthens your mind, because if you go without eating for that long, it's a mental battle all the time in your head, constantly, of wanting to eat. And I know what it's like through fasting and different things that we do, different cleansings and things. So to me, that's the value I really see in them, because that's going to strengthen their minds towards like drugs and alcohol when they become older and they get exposed to those things. And even if they try those things, they also have that mental strength to not do them because they know they're not supposed to. So they'll have that strength to be able to do that. So that really helps prepare them for life. Yeah.
I have all the questions.
Oh no, good. Yeah, these were good questions.
How far away is someone while the kids are doing their COVID-19 class? Is somebody like?
Yeah, we got a fire keepers, 24 hours. So we do people can sign up to be fire keepers. And then we also do individual plans for each niece and nephew, how often they want to be checked on. So we did that. So some don't want to be checked on at all. Some want to be checked on 2 times a day, 1 time a day, see how they're doing. So me or one of the other, I'm a lead uncle for the program, so kind of uncle to everybody. Me, I'm specifically in the nephews, with the nephews. So I check on them, me or Daniel Guzman or somebody else. So we'll be doing the check-ins and stuff. And then there will be fire keepers. We also had Margaret Vandenhoevel as the nurse to help, check somebody if there is any health issues going on. And then we also do the medical background checks too, to see if they have allergies and different things.
And someone's always close by. Though.
Yep,
I think it's
yep.
Like someone,
Yeah, someone's always within shouting distance.
oh.
So it's up to the nieces and nephews where they want to build their lodge. So we have our fire keeping location, and if they don't feel comfortable, they can build their lodge nearby, or if they want to really be secluded, they can go further into the woods. So that's up to them, their comfort level. So let's see what to expect. Let's see if I answer those. So we also are helping them learn their Hadua songs for the nephews, and then we're also for the nieces teaching them their seed songs. So those are the songs that they'll be singing when they get reintroduced back into the community. When they come out of their vision quest, they'll be put into a sweat lodge, and then they'll do kind of a debrief sweat on how everything went for them, any visions or anything, and then they'll get showered up and ready to be introduced back into the community in their ceremonial clothing, and then we'll lead them with stomp dance at the Noble Hill. We'll start down the corner, we'll sing songs up to the powwow grounds and have a community feast there, and then we'll be releasing them back to their parents, because when you look at traditional roles too, traditionally the grandmothers and mothers raised the child from birth till rites of passage age, and when they became rites of passage age, they were then turned over to their aunts and uncles to then take them to their next phase in life, to really mentor them and guide them and teach them all the skills that they're going to need going into adulthood. So that's that part of the ceremony where the aunts and uncles will be releasing the nieces and nephews back to their parents, and they'll be singing their Hadua songs and their seed songs back to their parents. We also, let's see, then we also have a Mother Earth Garden that actually starts Monday. So Mother Earth Garden, that's also part of our creation story, when Sky Woman came down pregnant and then gave birth to the daughter. Daughter died in the process of giving birth because the left-handed twin went out the armpit, and then that's why we refer to this earth as our Mother Earth, because she's our original mother. She's the mother of the Creator and the left-handed twin, and so her body was the first body buried here on this earth. And so they make a reenactment of it, and that part of our creation story, so they'll mound up dirt in the shape of a woman, and then they'll plant different foods and medicines in that body, because in our creation story, that's what grew from our mother, our original mother, is tobacco from the head, and strawberries from the heart, and corn from the breast, and squash from the stomach, and beans from the arms and fingers, and potatoes from the toes. So we'll be redoing all that. We'll be reenacting that part of it and planting those different vegetables and things. And then there's also a part in the creation story where Sky Woman, before she comes down, is sent on her mission in life, her journey on where she's supposed to go and who she's supposed to marry. And along the way, there's a lot of distractions that try to get her off her path. And so we reenact that part too with the nieces and nephews. We send the nieces on a mission to go do something, and the nephews have to try to stop them from getting to do whatever they're supposed to do.
That's gonna be entertaining.
Yeah, that'll be entertaining. Yeah. So that's the Mother Earth Garden, and then this next week, that's what we're doing at Mother Earth Garden. After that, we're gonna start teaching them how to build their lodges. We just finished stripping all the bark off the maple saplings today, right before I came here, and they're still soaking in the river. And then we'll get them out. We'll help them build their lodges Tuesday and Wednesday, and then Wednesday night is the final feast for third years. So that's their last meal they're gonna get. Then the next morning they go into the sweat, and then out to their lodge after that. See if they last.
It's
So
how long for the third years?
3 days.
3 days.
Yeah. So third years will go in Thursday morning, Friday morning, and then Saturday. Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
2 nights, 3 days.
They come out Sunday morning. So I believe that's how it works. And then we'll be repeating that process the next day for the second year people, their final feast, then their sweat, and the next morning, get them up to the woods. So that's Rites of Passage. That's what our people have done for thousands of years, becoming a man and a woman in the village, to be able to endure the physical part of it, to be able because they'll probably go through sugar withdrawals too, not having any soda, not having any candy bars, so they're probably going to go through headaches, probably going to have a headache out there. So there's things that they got to stay mentally strong through all of it. We'll be out there they can come out if they want, and if they can't make it, but we'll encourage them to continue if they can. It's fine. Because it's a 4-year program, so they can continue to give it a shot again the next year maybe or something. So it's flexible a little bit. So these are a little display here. These are the this one here is a moon basket. This is what we give the nieces. So one part of the before, so like the third year nieces and nephews. So this would be given to our nieces. They'd be getting a moon basket in the third years. We'll be doing a ceremony type thing at the longhouse where the mothers are releasing their child to the aunts. And mothers fill up their moon basket with what they need for their vision quest. And then the aunts and the uncles go through the basket and take everything out they don't need. And then this is a moon necklace. So they get this, and it's kind of just something really nice for them to have. This is the grandmother moon right here. And since grandmother moon is really in control of all the female side of life, and also female spirit as well. So the water is a female spirit, and so this is just something nice for them to have. a moon necklace. So we gift them these things. They get to keep these in the program. And then these are for the nephews. Pack basket. It's got some straps here. So we'll do the same things. Mom and dad will release their child to the uncles, and then uncles will take everything out they don't need. No electronics, no candy bars, no trying to sneak in food or anything. And they get these different fire starting kits too, so they can. It's optional for them if they want to have their own fire by their lodge, they can. And then some different smudges for them. So we got sweetgrass and sage, and some natural stuff here, natural bug repellent and the lip balm and some aromatherapy stuff. So that's kind of the gift they get for participating and if they succeed. So that's kind of rites of passage there. That's what we do. Yeah, question?
Going back to the regalia making, do they teach them how to make moccasins as well?
I hope to.
Have
That's
you
another,
started?
nope.
Oh, okay.
That's a plan for the future. When I talk about getting hunter safety into the curriculum and getting them on a hunt, I want to harvest a deer, and then I want to teach them how to not only cook it and quarter it up, all that stuff, preserve it, and then also take the hide and make leather out of it, and then make moccasins and tobacco pouches, so that they then really understand all of that as well. So I have lots of ideas to implement in.
Cold tanning or chemical tanning?
This would be smoke tanning, so just fire, old school, take the brains from
Brains,
the...
that's what I call cold tanning, not chemical tanning.
Yeah, cold tanning, yeah, old school, original way, the way people have done it forever. So, yeah, we'll be teaching them those things. Hopefully next year we'll get that into the curriculum. So after Rites of Passage is done here, June 23rd, take a break for a little bit, and then we'll get back into our organizer meetings and start planning for next year.
Tell me again, how many students are in this? Did you say?
Yeah, there was, we have about 36,
Okay.
and not every one of them are fasting, because some of them, their voice didn't change or they didn't get their time, but they're participating in the lessons, and so they're still coming and showing up and learning, but they're not ready to fast yet, so they're not going to be fasting. So I think we have about 14, 15 fasters, somewhere around there.
And so, like, are those students pretty enthusiastic about coming, or is it also part of like the parents saying you're going to go?
Yeah.
Because you know, sometimes you're trying to speak to a middle school kid or a 9th grade kid, and sometimes they're not very
Yeah.
just they don't want to discuss. They kind of
Yeah.
they listen, but they don't participate all that much in the discussion.
Oh, I haven't had that experience. Everybody that shows up participates and is eager to learn. So I guess that, comes down to their understanding probably. If they don't see the value in what they're learning or they don't understand it, then they probably won't be engaging. Having right into it, I'm sure that probably will happen in the future. We'll probably get some kids there that maybe know nothing about their culture, their language, and they totally can't connect at all. So that's the plan, is to try to get them connected. But if they can't, then maybe they connect with another religion. They can go do that. That's totally fine too.
Do the participants come from all the different schools, all the different high schools?
Yeah.
Or are there a number that are coming from Oneida Nation?
No, it's a mixture. Yeah, it's all school districts around. Yeah, we've got people from Lombardi, Oneida, Notre Dame, Seymour. So there's probably quite a few others.